So let's take the first category of people. The first category of people are those people who, and these are very few by the way, historically, even until today, the amount of people who actually say, I believe there is not a God, that there is not a creator, that there is no being that has brought this universe into existence, that it's just a product of random events or whatever. It's just time that destroys us. There were people in the time of the Prophet who made claims like that. And there are people today who make claims like that. But historically, amongst humanity, they have been very, very few. And societies that have actually made such claims have either not existed at all or have lasted such a short time that they have evaporated in history. Like, for example, the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was a self-declared atheist society. In other words, the belief system of the Soviet Union was that there is not a God. And this is what they attempted to force upon people, and you can see how long that society lasted. A mere, 80 years? Something like that? That's not very long in terms of human history, right? It's barely a bleep. The Quran, for example, poses a series of rhetorical questions. A rhetorical question is a question that is not supposed to have an answer. When someone asks a rhetorical question, they're not expecting you to answer it. In fact, the question in itself has an answer. For example, the Quran says, concerning or to those people who claim that there is not a God, that there is not a creator being who has brought this universe into existence. The Quran asks the rhetorical question, did it come from nothing, this universe? Did the universe come from nothing? That is a rhetorical question. Because it's obvious that you can't get something coming from nothing. As I've already stated, there is nothing in the totality of human experience that leads us to believe that you get something coming from nothing, or that you get order spontaneously arising out of chaos. It is therefore only common sense that when we look around us and we see these things, that we conclude there must be some intelligence, some power behind this. And this power must be very powerful, very wise, very intelligent. And it's also common sense to realize that this being cannot be like the creation. This being cannot be like the creation. Because if this being was like the creation, then that being would not be the creator. That being would just be another creation. And that would need another creator. And we only end up with the same dilemma. We have creators creating creators forever, and that's actually not possible. And the reason it's not possible, just to tell you briefly why it's not possible, and I'll give you an example, I'll give you an analogy. If I said to someone, oh, can you help me lift up this podium? I can't do it by myself. And you say, sure, I will help you lift up the podium, but I need someone else to help me. And that person says, well, I'll help you only if you help me. And so if everyone makes the condition that I will only help if someone ever helps, will this podium ever be lifted? Huh? Will never be lifted, right? So if you have creators creating creators creating creators ad infinitum, you never get anything created. Right? Okay. So it makes sense that the creator is infinite, eternal, without beginning, without end. The creator is self-sufficient. We summarize all of this by saying transcendent, that the creator is not like anything in this universe. And that how could you have more than one transcendent being? And even again, common sense tells us that the precision that we find and the unity that we find in the creational process makes us understand there could only be one mastermind behind this. If there were different creators, in fact, what we would find would be chaos and disunity, not this type of consistent precision throughout our universe. And this is why, really, it makes so much sense to believe. It's common sense to believe that there is one God, that there is one wise, powerful, intelligent creator that is unique, who has brought this universe into existence. This is common sense. This is reason. This is why human beings, as I said, everywhere, historically, you will find in every culture, there is this belief in the transcendent creator. You see, the Quran says that in fact, the real problem with the human beings is not that they don't believe in God. Most human beings believe in God, and they believe that there is one God, meaning they believe that there is one creator. But what they do is they actually give to the created things some of the powers or the knowledge that in fact only rightly belongs to God. So they attribute to the creation, they imagine that some things in the creation have powers that only God has. Or sometimes they also attribute to God some of the deficiencies and the shortcomings in the creation. And the reason they do this is because they speak about God without knowledge.